Okay, let's talk about Purdue. A little bit. Purdue's been real fun, and part of why Purdue's been so fun is because IU's been so bad. But Purdue is an incredibly entertaining team to watch, an incredibly entertaining team to root for. They play Oregon on Saturday, and that game is a whole lot more important than you might think. Purdue played Washington last night. They won by, I believe, 11, something along those lines. They honestly were down for most of the first half. They weren't quite shooting well. They couldn't hit a three-pointer, and then they got hot at the start of the second, pulled away, and it was game over from there. So they weren't shooting well, and then all of a sudden Fletcher Loyer got hot, and Braden Smith got hot, and they all slowly started breaking that paper ceiling of hitting a three-pointer, and Purdue ran away with it. Let's talk about the Oregon game, though. On Saturday, this game means a lot. It's both teams are jockeying for position at the top of the Big Ten. There are 6 teams separated by 2 games at the top of the Big Ten Conference. Purdue's looking to catch up to those Michigan schools. Remember, Purdue dropped that game to Penn State earlier in the year. Michigan and Michigan State are both, I believe, 5-0 in the conference at the moment. And Oregon's looking to remain relevant for the conference title, right? Oregon right now has 2 losses. They're 5th or 6th. I believe they're 5th actually in the Big Ten, but of course it's a tie down there. So picking up a 3rd loss would actually put them in the same conference record area as Indiana, who's 4-3 at the moment. But Purdue is looking to stay really close behind Michigan, Michigan State. Oregon's looking to not fall by the wayside because they have some tough games coming up as well. They catch Purdue at home. This team in Oregon is 15-2. They're 4-2 in conference. They're number 13 in the country. They're 5th in the Big Ten. As I said, they've won 4 of their last 5 games. They're coming off a narrow win at Penn State. That's Purdue's only conference loss. They've had close wins as well against Ohio State and Maryland. Interestingly, Oregon is not top 68 in almost all categories. In statistically, they're not top 68 in almost all those categories, at least the significant ones. 13th in the country in the AP poll because they have a resume conducive to being a top 13, top 15 team in the nation. So objectively, this is a great moment to boost your resume for both teams. It's a great moment to cement yourself at the top of the Big Ten in the standings, just from a record standpoint. And that way, Oregon, very successful team this year, but they've had some close games, albeit against good teams, some of them on the road in the Big Ten. They've had some close games recently. This roster for Oregon is very interesting because they don't play like most college basketball teams do. Their leading scorer is their center, and Nate Biddle. That's totally normal. He's likely going to win the rebounding battle over Trey Coppen-Wren. Trey Coppen-Wren's not the best rebounder in the country anyway. I imagine that Nate Biddle's going to win for the Ducks down low in that regard. They have a trio of guards as well, led by Jackson Shelstead. Shifty, elusive guards that hit tough shots. This team scores, and they score a lot because they put up a lot of shots, right? Oregon shoots all the time. Every possession, it feels like they're shooting a field goal or a three-pointer of some kind. Oregon, in a lot of ways, partially for that reason and others, plays like an NBA team, right? They feel, to me, more like a team predicated on isolated success, right? Jackson Shelstead will take the ball up the floor, and he'll just take it himself, and whether or not he finds a tough jumper that he twists into at the elbow or kicks it out for a 3, something along those lines, Oregon plays like an NBA team. It feels like solo success added up to create a winning team. And so that's why one of the key matchups in this game is the battle of philosophies, right? Purdue relies on ball movement. They have elite backcourt performance. They're able to shoot and score at a high rate from outside. And Purdue is one of the best teams at assisting the basketball as well. They create shots. They create space for their shooters. They move the ball around a lot. They move around the ball very effectively. Oregon, on the other hand, relies on solo play more, right? Biddle's going to reel in rebounds. He's going to keep the offense afloat, but they're just going to put up a ton of shots. And Shelstead's going to be the number one guy there. Shelstead is similar to an NBA player in the sense that he can just take over a game on his own. Purdue, in a lot of ways, spreads the ball around more and wins as a team more. So can the Oregon players beat the Purdue team? That's really the question for this basketball game in a couple of days. It's that battle of philosophy, and it's the battle of the front court. I said that Nate Biddle probably was going to win the battle of the front court, and I think I'm right. Purdue's not a very good rebounding team, but for the most part, it's just Trey Coppen-Wren versus Nate Biddle one-on-one, and that's mostly all there is to it. So if Trey Coppen-Wren does manage to win the front court, Purdue could just cruise to victory, and that could be incredible to watch, and Purdue would pick up a big-time road win. We saw them struggle out of the gate against Washington the other day. Road environment, way out west. They haven't done that for a conference game yet before, and now they're playing Oregon, again, in a conference game on the road, they might struggle to start. And if those guards start to take over and Shellstead gets hot and Nate Biddle is dominating the blocks, Oregon gets out to a lead, the question is whether or not Purdue on the road can keep their composure and come back with that. They did not shoot well early on against Washington. They figured it out in the second half. Are they going to shoot poorly again against Oregon? West Coast road game in the Big Ten for the first time. We'll see how Purdue does against the number 13 team in the country. Once again, Purdue has one conference loss. They're a game behind Michigan and Michigan State. Oregon would be 3 games back with a loss, which is at this point nearly insurmountable with how many teams are in the Big Ten, with how many teams are jockeying position at the top, the fact that not all of those teams play one another throughout the year, right? 3 games back from the lead, as we're approaching the halfway point into conference play, that might be an insurmountable deficit if they're trying to win the conference. So Oregon trying to stay relevant at the top of the league, right, to potentially win the Big Ten. Purdue could add another top 25 win. They would advance to 3-3 versus the top 25. Remember, they're 2-3. They have a losing record against top 25 teams, which is significant because if we're considering, like I am, considering Purdue to be a team that can make another deep run in the NCAA tournament, you've got to be able to beat top 25 teams. This is a great example on the road against a team that's similar standing to them at the top of the conference in the Big Ten. Very key opportunity for Purdue to go on the road and pick up a massive win for their NCAA tournament resume, a massive win for their standing in the Big Ten, and a massive win across the board to prove that they're capable of doing something difficult like this on the road. Whatever they do in Mackey is whatever they do in Mackey, but you don't play in Mackey Arena in the NCAA tournament. So Purdue going on the road to play Oregon and winning resoundingly against especially an Oregon team as good as they are and as dangerous as they are, Purdue would have a lot of potential all year long. This is a great chance for them to prove themselves. I hope that they are able to, and I can't wait to see how it goes.